in listen-only mode.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for attending this December 17th session of the Practice Pay Solutions Business Mastery Series. My name is Carol Vickers, and I'm with Empower Consulting, and we have the great pleasure of hosting this series for Practice Pay Solutions. As many of you know, Practice Pay Solutions Business Services were inspired by rising professionals just like yourselves. Practice Pay understands that for your business to grow, you need to simplify your day-to-day processes. Practice Pay delivers convenient and affordable payment processing and shopping cart services, as well as they have this incredible commitment to ongoing training and development like this webinar. Practice Pay Solutions can be reached by heading over to their website at practicepaysolutions.com. So just wanted to let you know that we are recording this presentation today, and there is a handout as well. You can, for those who are listening to the recording, you can get the handout at www.fripp.com/handouts. That's www.fripp.com/handouts. And for those of you who are on the actual live presentation, I put it into the chat box so that you can actually click on the hyperlink. Now, just to get things started, just to let you know that our presenter today, Patricia, welcomes questions, and there will be opportunities to ask throughout the presentation. Just pop them into the chat box, and I will make sure that she receives them. So, are you comfortable? Let's get started. Presentation today is called Speaking Your Way to Greater Sales and Success with our wonderful presenter, Patricia Fripp. What a perfect time to get inspired to make our 2014 a great year. Our guest presenter is just like you, an entrepreneur who took advantage of opportunities. Fripp, as her friends call her, started as a hairstylist. She arrived in America at 20, alone, with no contacts, and $500. Since then, she has created her own version of lifestyles of the rich and famous. She built a very successful men's hairstyling salon in San Francisco's financial district and traveled nationwide teaching hairstylists. Over the years, her focus has changed from working on the outside of heads to the inside of heads. She is a Hall of Fame keynote speaker and arguably one of the most in-demand executive speech coaches and sales presentation skill trainers. Oh, Patricia, it sounds like I need you. She is a partner in World Champions Edge speech coaching community along with Practice Pay Solutions clients Darren LaCroix, Ed Tate, and Craig Valentine. Kiplinger's Personal Finance said Patricia Fripp Speaking School is one of the best investments in yourself. We have brought a mini version to you today. Welcome, Patricia Fripp.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you. And as far as my advice to you, what you have going for you, Carol, very few people have, and that is we can feel you smile in your voice. That would be a great lesson for us all to learn. And as entrepreneurs, however we define our businesses, my philosophy is that life is a series of sales situations. Every day we sell ourselves, our ideas, our point of view, our value, our products, or our services. Every day we have to look at better ways to communicate how we can be of service to our clients. And if I were to ask you, is 2014 the year you double your sales? Perhaps you'd say yes. Perhaps you'd say no. Most likely you would say, Patricia, I would love it to be. Can you tell me how? Well, you're at the right place at the right time. And I promise you some of the suggestions will help you. This is the premise for our webinar. Every Practice Pay Solutions webinar client and guest can be even more successful. And you're probably thinking, how do I do that? Well, you can see the answer on the screen. When you speak confidently, connect emotionally, network effectively, focus conversations and presentations on your listeners, the person you are talking to, add vivid examples and specificity, and build rehearsal into everyday life. Now, in case you're thinking, Fripp, I'm not a speaker. Well, however, as you master storytelling, better you-focused questions, you will find that you need to make them second nature. We all hear information on webinars, in articles, on CDs, DVDs from our friends. And we can analytically say, oh, that makes sense, I know that. However, can you take it to the stage or take it to your conversations with your prospects and clients consistently? And in case you're thinking, well, I know you're a professional speaker now, I'm not. Remember, outside the privacy of your own home, all speaking is public speaking. So whereas my partners in World Champions Edge and I might get paid to stand on stage, if you make a sale, develop a new client, be it on the phone or at a networking event or at a recommendation, you are being paid for that conversation, perhaps a lot higher fee than a professional speaker would receive. So all speaking is public speaking. Outside the privacy of your own home, you're a public speaker. Don't forget it. Our goal in all presentations, whether you are as a leader communicating to your staff and your team, or whether you are a sales professional or an entrepreneur talking to customers and prospects, or just people in your community, our goal is always to speak, to be remembered and repeated. And I'm going to encourage you after this webinar to start recording your side of conversations when you're on the phone. If you're casually with your friends and it doesn't matter, with your phone, you can record what you are saying. Most specifically with your sales conversations and presentations, or any presentations you might give for our friends who are professional speakers, record them and listen. We are going to put the actual words that you use under a magnifying glass. And remember, it's not only what you say, it's your body language. Do you look confident, welcoming? How do you dress? It's a matter of being appropriate for the situation that you're in, and your preparation for any presentation or conversation. Now you might say, Fripp, I go to networking events to get clients. How can I prepare? Well, one, I would recommend, if you are going to an event and you've been sitting in your office all day, take a change of clothes. You don't want to be wrinkled. You want to walk in perfectly clean and prepared. Take a few breaths to get rid of all the day's pressures, which we all have, and then smile. It is amazing how welcoming a smile is. And you can prepare based on what is going on in the news. It's not bad to have a couple of questions you could ask people. Did you hear the president's speech last night? Or do you come to many Chamber of Commerce mixers? Or how long have you been a member of Rotary? And then always remember, we want to turn our conversation to the listener. Now, when you are speaking, whether you're giving a sales presentation, running one of your own meetings, or giving a speech, it is how you stand. Always stand with your weight equally on both feet, your legs hip distance apart. How you stand represents the stability of your company and the stability of the ideas you're going to communicate. And your presence, there's a certain presence about you. That's why I want you to be calm and well dressed. You can walk into a room being nervous, However, if you're confident because you know you look good, that gives you an edge. And when you're talking to people, your eye contact, you cannot be trustworthy and really engage people unless you actually look at them. That doesn't mean you're going to stare at them, but look at people. If you're looking at several people or delivering a sales presentation to 3 or 4 people, you want to do piece of the pie eye contact so everybody feels engaged. You might be talking to somebody who's the owner or the economic buyer or the person who's going to say yes. However, anybody in a meeting, they are an influencer or they wouldn't be there. And let's remember, your reputation precedes you. I don't know if you have a philosophy how you do business. I was very lucky. When I first went to work at 15 as a hairstylist, my dad, who was a very successful entrepreneur, pushed me out the door and said, Patricia, don't focus on making a lot of money. Rather focus on becoming the type of person people want to do business with, then you most likely will make a lot of money. Your reputation is one of your most important assets. And you've probably heard the expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know. This is the Frippicism. It's not who you know, it's who wants to know you. Remember, your reputation spreads. And when you are talking to a prospect, a customer, or at a networking event, to be considered interesting, be interested in others. Be genuinely interested. And it's the same with any compliments you give. Make sure they are genuine. The key to connection in any situation is conversation. The secret of conversation is to ask questions. And the quality of the information you receive depends on the quality of your questions. And that is true in a sales developing relationship. If we remember, no matter what circumstance we're in, that everybody is more interested in themselves than they are in us, we will never go wrong. And imagine if you are giving a sales presentation, if you're giving a speech, or even at a networking event, imagine the other person is thinking, so what? Who cares? What's in it for me? Why is this person talking about themselves or the company all the time? Don't they know I'm an interesting person? You will be much more likely to connect if you do a lot of asking rather than telling until they've asked. And if you were to ask me, Patricia, is there one networking technique that will serve me better than any other, what would it be? I would travel with your own PR agent. Now, you might be thinking, Fripp, I don't have a PR agent. That's the point. Your good friends or associates can be. This example came from real life. I was going to a networking event with one of my friends, Susan Rowan. She is the best-selling author of How to Work a Room. If you haven't got it, it is probably the best book on networking and developing relationships ever written. In fact, she's just rewritten it for its 30-year anniversary. If you can imagine how difficult it is to write a bestseller, and then to write a bestseller that's been selling for 30 years. It's a very good, easy-to-read book. What we do naturally, we suddenly realized we need to teach other people. Susan and I were at a networking event, and I walked up to her, and she was engaged in conversation with someone. And she said, oh, Carol, let me introduce you to my friend Patricia Fripp. She truly is one of the best speakers, sales trainers, and speech coaches in the country. In fact, Meetings and Conventions magazine said she's one of the 10 most electrifying speakers in North America. And I said, Carol, I'm sure Susan was far too modest to tell you. She's the best-selling author of 5 books. She's been on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal, USA Today. She's even been in Playboy. And Susan said, yes, but not as a centerfold. Now, what we did, Carol, and I put your name in, and we realized we have been doing this for years, and most people don't realize how simple it is. In other words, our mothers programmers don't show off. Yet what do we have to do in business? We have to let people know what we do. It's much better to travel with a friend who tells you what you would like the people to know, and then use this line, write it down. Susan is too modest to tell you. And then you give a credential of your friend. And the interesting part, especially, Susan happens to be very funny, and she was in Playboy and not a centerfold. What we have to do, Carol, with our conversations is imagine you go to a networking event, you engage. And then what happens? The person goes to work the next day. Oh, what'd you do? Oh, I went to a party at the Chamber of Commerce. Was it good? Yes. Great venue, super food, and interesting people. Really, who did you meet? Do you know I met one of the best sales trainers in the country and a best-selling author? She's even been on the front cover of USA Today, the Wall Street Journal, and Playboy, but not as a centerfold. You see, what we do, we even give the people we meet a way to be an object of interest at work, because we got them something interesting that they can say. So this is the best, simplest, easiest way that anybody can maximize their networking event. Now you can do this if you have sales calls or prospecting calls. Go together. And then look at how do you speak about yourself. Can you do it in a way that's visual? I was just talking to a woman, and she was a financial planner, and she said, we deliver the service of the Ritz-Carlton with the efficiency of FedEx. Now, can you see that's one short sentence? However, it gives you more information than the amount of time it takes to say. Susan also tells a story about walking into her regular coffee shop. She writes her best-selling books with pencil and paper, even though she's very technical. And you know how you have your favorite restaurants or coffee shops and you've got your seat. And for Susan, her seat to write her books was very important, and there was someone in it. And in the coffee shop, all the regulars were talking to each other, and then she said, what'd you do? You're sitting in my seat, but what do you do? He said, I help rich people sleep at night. She said, you're either a pharmacist or a financial planner. Well, he said, I'm a financial planner. Now, do you realize that simple, fun little line? Now, when Susan sees him, she just has to say, how are those rich people sleeping at night? So look at, that's in a coffee shop, that's public speaking. Now, at this point, we've just been talking about setting up, about speaking to be remembered and repeated, how in everyday conversation you're a public speaker. Do you have any questions, Carol, or anything you would like to ask based on what you've heard?
I'm keeping an eye on the questions, and so far there aren't any. But I have one quick one. You said piece of pie eye contact. Could you just tell us a little bit more about what that is when you're speaking to people?
Perfect. Thank you. If you're speaking to 3 or 4 people, what you want to do is talk to each person for a thought, an idea, or a phrase, and make sure everyone is included around the table. So when we talk about a piece of the pie, and I'm sure your mother was very careful to make all the pieces be close to the same size so nobody feels shortchanged. So this is it. You don't want your audience to feel shortchanged. So a thought, an idea, or a phrase. And a lot of people find it very difficult to talk and give eye contact. But practice this. You practice with your family at the dinner table. And just think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then move on. And that will be more than eye contact, that is really eye connection. And if we talk about emotionally connecting with our audience, be it 1, 5, 50, or 500, it's certainly eye contact and you-focused language, focusing on them, and then there's stories, which we will be talking about.
Perfect.
Now, in case anyone wanted to know, well, are there any other networking techniques? Yes. Why don't you follow the simple formula? If somebody asks you, what do you do, and you don't have your own PR agent with you, you might say, you know how. Now, paint a scene of what the problem is you solve. Like I might say, you know how companies and associations have meetings that they're supposed to be exciting and they're often dull and boring. Well, I have some practical ideas I present in an entertaining way. The result is people stay awake, have a good time, and get the company's message. To which people say, oh, what do you talk about? Oh, we have good speakers. You've got a conversation. So if you just wanted to write down, you know how, what is the situation that people engage you or hire you? Well, you give an example of how you solve them, and the result is. And that makes it easier to engage the other person in conversation rather than saying, I'm the computer programmer for Levi Strauss. So what you're doing, you're not talking about a job title as much as the results. So let's move on. You-focused language as it relates to a sales presentation. If there were one mistake consistently entrepreneurs and salespeople make talking about their service, it's too much about us, too much about I. One of my clients called, he was a sales manager for the Fairmont Hotel. And he said, as you know, Patricia, I'm a great salesperson one-on-one. However, I have the opportunity to deliver an 8-minute presentation to a conference committee. They are going to be staying in the hotel, we're showing them around, and they put me on the agenda. And I just hate, I'm so nervous standing up in front of 8 people. What shall I do? And I suggested, as they know who he is, he's an agenda item, he doesn't have to build rapport, he's been in the meeting, he's been showing them around, that he say something like this. In the next 8 minutes, which means I have acknowledged the time you've given me on the program, you will decide the best decision you can make for your association and your members is to bring your convention to San Francisco in the Fairmont Hotel. Can you see this is you-focused language? One Fairmont, 5 you or yours. That is a way that you can emotionally gauge. And if there was one challenge and Fripper size I would give you as a result of tuning in, it would be look at how do you start your conversations, sales presentations, or speeches, and see if you can make them more you-focused. Now, this formula follows any company. After all, Practice Pay Solutions is our host. Let's look at how we would take that formula and having a conversation about Practice Pay Solutions. So I could say, and I'm saying it, after this webinar, you will appreciate the value you receive from a relationship with Practice Pay Solutions, and you may decide the best decision you can make for your business is to ask for a demonstration of services from Practice Pay Solutions. After all, one relationship, many solutions. And for busy entrepreneurs, speakers, and business people, the more help we can get from a partner that we really can rely on and trust is invaluable. So I would suggest, if you don't have it, go to fripp.com/handouts, And you can get just a PDF of the PowerPoint slides. And why don't you take this formula and see if it could relate to your sales conversations and presentations? I would challenge you to develop you-focused language that you have in your back pocket. By having in your back pocket is it's prepared. You just never quite know when it's going to be appropriate to use. But you can feel confidence. Perhaps you agree. How often have you, in your experience, based on your situation, considering your budget, can you see these are all phrases that will give you a great relationship, because the listener would think, finally, a sales professional in this industry or a consultant or speaker who really seems to be focused and concerned about me. It's probably the most valuable tool. Well, there's actually two. You focus language and your networking, travel with your own PR agent. You use these, and I'm very confident 2014 you could double your sales. Now, do you have any questions about the you-focused language or anything, Carol?
Not at the moment. It actually made perfect sense to me.
Good. And most people, whenever we talk about good practices, they say, I already do it. Well, you know you should do it. Record your conversations and presentations and listen. You will be appalled. The only way to really find out is to listen in. So the next part, and this is, we look at our sales conversations and presentations. Would it be helpful if your prospects remembered what you said? Would it be beneficial if a month after they met you, in conversation with their own team, they could list the key benefits of doing business with you? And would it be profitable? Again, long after they spoke to you, they could tell a story about somebody who made the choice of doing business with you. The answer, of course, is yes, yes, and yes. And so what we have to do is look at making our conversations memorable. Consider this: the purpose of a sales presentation is to help your prospect discover why you are the best option. And they will do that when your language is focused on their challenges or their situations. So powerful sales presentations and conversations are focused on the prospect's best outcome, not you. Structured for their priorities. You have to open and close on a high. And many of the best professionals I work with in any situation that they have to speak are fine once they get going. I've just never met anyone who knows how to open and close their presentation with impact. Scripted for specificity. Specificity builds credibility. We're going to focus on that in just a few minutes. And we have to learn to tell client case studies. We would consider them stories, but stories about people who have already made the decision to do business with you, that will give them the confidence that you'll be a good partner. So let's look at your sales conversation or presentation. There is the content. That is what it is you're going to put into your presentation. There's the structure. How do you organize your remarks so you can remember it, and so can your listeners? And then there's the delivery. Very often, people say, Patricia, oh, I got my sales presentation. I got my speech together. Can you coach me on how I deliver it? And I always, being the cheeky little person I am, say, why would you want to perfect a poorly structured, badly scripted presentation? even if I have a client or a company that has their presentation, we always step backwards and look, how is it structured so it's easy for you to remember? So it's logical for the listener. And are you starting well? As I say, most people are fine once they get going because they're talking about what they know, their company. But they don't know how to start in a way that the listener thinks, wow, this is an interesting approach. This is going to be good. Or I can't wait to see what comes next. This would be a simple speech structure. So, for example, the first 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds have the most impact. Now, that doesn't mean you always script your opening first, and we're going to show you how you can do this. It's going to be a great way to set yourself apart from other presenters, other sales professionals, consultants, or coaches talking to the prospects you're talking to. It is always good before any presentation, whether it's live or online or to one person or a large audience, is to ask, what is the audience thinking before our meeting, before our presentation? Because our job is to answer their unasked questions. You are going to introduce the premise of your presentation or your conversation. The premise is the central thing. And let me give you a clue. The premise of your sales presentation is your company is going to be better off based on doing business with my company. So you might say, Darren LaCroix, your speaking business will be more efficient and profitable when you do business with Practice Pay Solutions. Now, if somebody from the company said that to Darren, and obviously they did at one point, he would say, well, how? Now, your points of wisdom, I put them here as challenges for your clients. That is how you organize your remarks. So, for example, we'd say, well, Darren, first of all, tell us a little bit about your business. Do you want to collect names for mailings? Do you have products that you sell as downloads or hard products? Do you have a relationship with a bank, or do you need someone to collect your money for you in a safe, reliable, totally secure way? So you see, once you ask good questions, remember, the key to connection is conversation. The secret of conversation is to ask questions, and the quality of the information you receive depends on the quality of your questions. So if you want to sell, and we could all talk about our companies, our expertise, our technology for hours, we only want to tell the prospect specifically what they're interested in. So that's why you ask questions. Now, assuming that you've asked your questions, you know what their challenges are, then you are going to focus your presentation around what they want to hear. And what do most sales professionals do? Good morning, my name's Joe Smith. I come from the Smith Company. We've been in business for 28 years, and we are known for our unique methodology, and we do business with companies from the Fortune 500 company, and we'd love to do business with you. Remember the slide? So what? Who cares? What's in it for me? Why are they only talking about their company? I invited them to tell me how to solve my challenges. So what we want to do is give all the information that they need to know about our company, but within the structure of the presentation focused on their challenges. So, for example, your first talking point might be their challenge. Perhaps they want to develop a mailing list to keep in touch with their customers. Then what you would do is introduce how you do that and give an explanation. Then you are going to give a specific application for this prospect, this company, and then you might give a client example. So if you're talking to Darren or Ed or Craig or Patricia, what you're going to do is give an example of another speaker we would know or respect who is already doing business with Practice Pay Solutions. Now you see, look at the challenge. Perhaps you want to present your technology, your expertise, your product or service from the point of view of, in the past, nobody had a database. We kept everything with paper. Now we all know we have to collect our customers' information. We have to do it in a secure way. So what you're doing is you're talking about what happened in the past, and now how we can solve these problems for you in the future, the present and the future. Again, you're going to give a client example of perhaps how you took a small company that expanded and stayed with them. Your third challenge, perhaps you have a prospect who has an international business and they're trying to help you. You have some technology or some consulting or some coaching or some service that can help them. Then you might say, well, this is how it would help you regionally, nationally, internationally. Now, after you've gone through your presentation, you would ask, you do a review and ask if there are any specific questions. Then you might encourage them, based on what you've heard, based on how you answer their questions, this is our recommended logical next step. You can either say this is what we recommend is the next logical step, or you might even ask them, what do you think is your next logical step? And then you're going to close on a high. Remember, your last words linger. Now, I've been talking about my partner, Darren LaCroix. We deliver coaching camps together, and I always like this slide here, this image, because it represents to me you shouldn't have to beg for sales. And this is a simple version of a speech structure that you can use for any business, any relationship. I recommend you start, once you've got the pleasantries out the way, with congratulations. What is this company or this person proud of? Now, here's a clue. This even works in email. Often I get inquiries from people who want me to coach them. And the first thing I do before I respond is I check their LinkedIn profile. And then when I reply, I can say, congratulations, you have a very impressive background. Or congratulations, I see you just won an award for. Much better to say, make a comment, say something they're genuinely proud of. And it could be as simple as, walking through the office, everyone was pleased with, you were pleased with the response that they gave you. So let's look at congratulations. What are they proud of? Then you might say, thank you for the opportunity to discuss. You never say thank you for your time. One, you're as busy as they are, and everybody else thanks them for the time. So we want to thank them for the opportunity to discuss how your expertise, our training, our solution can better help solve their problem, which you have identified. If someone is one of your champions that gave you all the information to help you prepare for the presentation, you've got to say, John is very generous with his time and information. Make John or Mary look like a hero in front of their boss or their team. Now, he mentioned your challenges are. Now, perhaps he called them key priorities, or you're most interested in. So can you see how the speech diagram, your sales presentation diagram, the talking points are focused on what you heard from the person you found out from. Then you can say this presentation or this conversation is structured around your interests, your priorities, your major focus. This is why I want you to get the handout and just circle what's most appropriate for you to use. A lot of these ideas can be adapted to any conversation you were having with any prospect. Your questions or other topics of discussion are welcome. In other words, we are focusing this presentation on what we believe you're interested in based on our research or our conversations. However, we can talk about anything. Then, how do you introduce yourself to people you don't know? Perhaps you've engaged with a couple of people, but you're just brought in and there are people sitting around the room. You might say, in case we've not had the pleasure of meeting. Now, if you get to engage with a few people before you present, you know some people, but unless you've met them all, you might say, in case we've not had the pleasure of meeting. That's much better than what most people do. Hello, my name is, and this is who I come from. Don't do it first. Once you've engaged them, they're going to be much more interested in hearing what you have to say. I'm Patricia Fripp. My role as your speech coach, advisor, consultant, sales rep. Now, this is subtle. You haven't got the business yet, but you're talking as if in my role as your sales representative, you have the confidence of knowing, see the you-focused language, that based on my 15 years experience with practice-based solutions, with presentation skills, with the ABC company. Now, this is a way you're building your credibility, but you're making it an advantage, a benefit to the listener. And serving clients of your size and complexity, you can expect. Can you see how we take you-focused language and make this more compelling? When everything else is being equal, when your services or your product are exactly the same or very close to competitors, it's the presentation will give you an edge. So at this point, Carol, do you have any questions about the sales presentation format, or has anyone sent a question in?
No one has yet sent a question in, Patricia. Just wanted to clarify the stages that you were describing. One is for actually the actual presentation where you're speaking in front of people, and then the second is really when you have a chance to speak to them more one-on-one. Is that correct?
All right, well, yeah, first of all, and this obviously is, say, the second or third stage of a sales conversation. Mm-hmm. So at first, whether it's a lead or you're cold calling or you're following up an inquiry, you are going to have a conversation to one person, usually one person, or maybe a couple of people, to find out what it is specifically they want that you can serve them with.
Right.
Then, based on the answers you get, well, because, for example, the first question I ask, if somebody inquires for sales presentation skills training, the first question might be, Patricia, how do you work with sales teams? And I answer that, and this is what we all have to learn to do. Don't talk about yourself. Don't try and sell services you don't know what they need. So I'll say, well, Carol, can we step backwards for a moment? Was I recommended, or am I the end of a Google search? And as long as I've been in business, as many recommendations I have, at least 80% are from a Google search. And people often apologize. Well, actually, it was a Google search. Don't worry. Don't you love the internet? It sends me wonderful prospects like you every day. Now, why were you Googling speech coach? Or why were you Googling for sales presentation skills trainer? And you see, I need them talking because sales managers are busy.
Yes.
You know, they didn't stop and just Google around for a sales presentation skills coach or whatever your service is unless there's some reason. Now, they might do it for fun, but to actually follow up and try and have an appointment with somebody, they're more serious. Then I would say, all right, so why? And often I hear, we just lost a sale that we really thought we were going to get. Or we just hired 6 new salespeople who have a lot of experience in our industry. We naturally thought they could tell our company story. We had them practice in front of our leadership, and we realized how appalling they were. We need to get them trained fast.
Right.
So then I say, okay, quite understand. And now let's just say somebody we just lost a sale. I say, may I ask, how big was that sale? Well, $250,000. Well, is that a big sale, a little sale, an average sale? And this is important. Remember, the quality of the information you receive depends on the quality of the questions. So well, that's actually a big sale. All right. Well, what's an average sale? One you're pleased with, but you know you're not setting off fireworks. Well, $150,000 is an average sale. Good. How many salespeople do you have? 20. And do you keep statistics of how many presentations you do and how many sales you close? Yes. Well, what is your closing rate? 1 in 2. Well, congratulations, Carol. That's better than most. You're doing a lot right. Now, this is what you have to do. And I learned this from Alan Weiss, who I delivered many seminars, great consultant. It's the power of language. But can you see what I'm doing is asking questions. I'm not trying to sell my services. What you want, and this is key, we need to ask questions, Carol, so that we find out how much it is costing our prospect to not be using our services. Now, we understand we might not be the only person they're talking to, but we have to be the person who seems most interested in them. And then this is key. So I'll say, Carol, you've got 20 salespeople. Your average sale, you have others a lot bigger, but your average sale is $150,000. And they deliver 10 sales presentations a month. You close 5 of them. So how much per year are you not winning? And you have to have the prospect work out the math. I would say, I'm not very good with math. How much does that come to? Now, with some of my clients, they say that's $3 million a year. So then we get around to, well, my normal process, see if this would work for you. And then I talk about how I would help them. And then when they say, well, that sounds very good, what would this cost?
Yes.
And I can say with a straight face, Carol, based on the cost of the sales you're losing, my fee is inconsequential. What we need to look is, would you start with a pilot program, or you want to roll it out? Do you want to deliver it in person or a webinar? So you see, you have a conversation. Now, all this is before we actually meet.
Right.
Or it could be, you might have a business that this is in person. So then if you're in person, when you got the information, then you'd say, you know, based on all the challenges and the frustrations you have, I can certainly do an outline and come up with a proposal and a presentation. Should I present it to you, or do you have a management team, or do you have a leadership team? So it depends on the nature of your business. So many of my clients, they have these conversations, then they give a more formal presentation. Now, with some of my clients, it takes a year from this conversation to a formal presentation. But then some of my clients are asking $20 million for a sale.
Right.
If you're doing a $20 million, it's probably going to take longer than if you and I are selling services that might be $10,000.
Yes.
So then you go back. So that's when you start with congratulations. What are they proud of?
Mm-hmm.
You have an awesome responsibility, or you have a challenge, or you have a unique opportunity. Whatever is most appropriate for them. John has been very generous with his time and his expertise, and he tells me that your challenge most specifically is bullet, 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 or what you're most interested in hearing is our approach to how we could maximize your database. So you have the presentation. Now you notice your company history is not a talking point. If they say yes, it doesn't matter if they don't know how long you've been in business.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people say, don't sign yeah, I haven't finished the presentation. Look, if they're saying yes, you have finished the presentation. It is the next logical step. But you see, this is what you do. It's the you. Well, based on my 15 years experience and the results, as you may know, we are a 35-year-old company. So this is how you bring in a lot of this information. So you go from a conversation to a small meeting, and of course these days a lot are delivered with webinars, but it's still you-focused language. So knowing the importance of you-focused language, we don't want to say, I am going to tell you what I would like to talk about, what I would like to do first. Nobody cares, remember? It's all about me. So what? Talk about me. Now let's transition to one of the most valuable tools that all sales professionals and entrepreneurs have. It is telling stories of our satisfied clients. Because we have to remember, your audience will remember what they see when they listen to you. Robert McKee, who's a famous screenwriting teacher, says stories are the creative conversion of life itself into a clearer, powerful, more meaningful experience. And when we want to present information, develop this in a logical order. When, where, who, what happened. So if you take case histories of your clients, what do we always get asked? Can you give me an example or a reference from somebody in my situation I could call? And you say, well, yes, of course. When Patricia Fripp first called me, where was she in the situation? So we look at when, where, who, what happened. Now, bear with me, and this soon will all be revealed. We want to populate your stories, and by stories I mean your client case histories, with flesh and blood characters that the audience can relate to. And it all starts at the beginning, when and where and who. When my friend from the Fairmont Hotel called me, he said, Patricia, help! As you know, I'm a great salesperson one-on-one, but I have to deliver a presentation. So what you do with the clients you're going to use as references, you are going to start, and what is the situation? When we first met Mary at the ABC company, she said, help! Now, it doesn't matter that she didn't actually say help. And it doesn't matter that you might have had 6 conversations with her. What we want is the situation. We want her problem in her words. For example, help! We only hire people with 10 years technology experience. We assumed they could tell our story. We had them present it at a senior leadership meeting, and we report. Now, this is what I actually heard from one of my clients, so this is great if I'm going to be delivering sales presentation skills training. All right. Then the solution is you can tell, well, what we did for Shelley, we did this. All right, what we did for Darren, when he wanted a shopping cart, we showed him there's so much more. All right, so we talk about the solution. Now, if you were to talk to Shelley, or if you were to talk to Darren, the success is always with the client's words. If you were to talk to Darren, he would say, my business is so much more successful, streamlined, and profitable. Now I'm a practice-based solution client. You can't go wrong talking to them about what they might do for you. Now, can you see, Carol, when you're using the words of your satisfied clients, you can say anything about your product or service, and your satisfied clients actually say it. So perhaps our listeners would like to call their best clients and say, you're so happy with our service. Would you tell me in your own words how you felt when we first started talking, and what are the results now? Now, we want you to remember, as you're telling these stories, what Alfred Hitchcock said. A movie is like life with all the dull parts left out. So what you're going to do, you're going to practice telling these stories before you take them to your clients. Now, at this point, Carol, I know we're getting close to our closing time. Are there any questions there, or shall I keep moving?
Just keep going.
All right, good. This is a way you speak. Remember the when, where, who, what happened. How we normally speak, and if we turned on CNN, we would hear something like this. President Obama delivered a speech on healthcare at Yale University yesterday. Now, taking the principle from comedy, there's a setup phrase and a punch phrase. We want to make, in business communications, we want the impact phrase to go at the end of the sentence. See, if you said yesterday, the listener would think recent history. At Yale University, haven't been there, I imagine beautiful grounds, President Obama, oh, I know who that is, delivered a speech on healthcare. What he spoke about is more important than was it yesterday or the day before. Was it Yale or Harvard? This is not how we normally speak, but this is how we speak, to be remembered and repeated. And if you listen to your conversation, you will find, if you're doing it, you're really not, because most people don't, but it will have more impact. When we talk about specific, use your sloppy language. If you're talking about your services or products as stuff, that's debris. Now, we often talk about things, and in conversation, you're not thinking ahead of time, but with a sales conversation or a presentation, you're thinking in advance. What do you mean by things? Be specific. And again, look at the language. I went to a seminar, got tons of business cards. No, you couldn't have left the room. So I want you to look at the empty words, bunches of grapes. Be specific. If you say, I got lots of leads, tell me how many leads, because your sales manager can't coach someone if they're using bunches, tons, sums, and lots. Give me specifics. Jerry Seinfeld said, I will invest an hour to take an 8-word sentence and edit it down to 5. And if you can take out every word that isn't needed, it will be more memorable. For him, it's funnier. For us, it's more memorable. So remove words that have no value. Each and every one of you in this room, that's 8 words, and you really want to say you. When you say you, everyone in the room hears the speaker is talking to me. Now, we are hoping with this webinar, seeing our goal is to double your sales next year, is that you will practice some new scripts, some new way of opening, telling stories. And remember, the idea is without consistency, there's no real quality. We're encouraging you to understand that new presentation skills habit, new business developing skills, new systems for your business requires new habits. And what will double your sales next year is to develop new habits. And habits are weight tracks. They take a while to get into place, but when they're there, they will take you anywhere you want to go.
Wonderful, Patricia. Thank you. There's so much information here, but how can our listeners learn even more from you?
Well, certainly go to fripp.com. Remember my name, you'll remember that. Soon, probably February, we will be introducing Fripp virtual training, which is highly interactive presentation skills, sales presentation skills training 24/7. It's very interactive, so it's very fun to listen to. I am there, not in person, but I'm recorded, but you are tested on what you've heard, and any sales manager can see who's taking the course. So certainly on Fripp.com you will see that in February. PracticePay Solutions is a very important partner for an event, Lady and the Champ Speakers Conference in Las Vegas. And if you just check out Lady and the Champs Conference.com, you'll find out anything. If you're a speaker, an entrepreneur, a manager, an ambitious professional who understands that any presentation skills will help you be more effective, check this out. This is the best skill improvement for conversations and presentations and business developing skills. So that's 2 ways. And then, of course, go to Fripp.com, and we have plenty of free information if you look at solutions. And the question we need to ask everybody listening, what are you committed to do? Because if you are committing to make some changes in 2014 with your business, your sales conversations and presentations, we can't guarantee that your business will be better. If you do, there's a good chance you could double it. So I hope you will always remember me. Frequently reinforce ideas that are productive and profitable. That's what my name stands for, which is much more important than remembering Fripp. And please always remember that the great information is brought to you by PracticePay Solutions, one relationship, many solutions.
Patricia, thank you so very, very much, and what marvelous information. I have pages of notes, and I really encourage everyone to take advantage of getting the handout and seeing your slides again. And so I just want to thank everyone who's been listening today and welcome you to the end of 2013 and to encourage you to double your business in 2014. And there'll be more presentations by PracticePay Solutions, and we hope to see you then. Have a wonderful holiday season. All the very best to you, Patricia, and to everyone listening. Thank you so much today. Have a wonderful day.
There's Fripp.com, and if you just go to Solutions, plenty of free information.
Great. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now.